Good evening, everybody. If we could just stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see everyone. Of our October meeting. Just a couple comments. First, I want to welcome Charlie Thalen. Many of you probably know him, but I'm going to ask him to introduce himself. He's our new junior student board member. And yes, he is related to Caroline Thalen, who left us, but Charlie makes his own marks. He's a great kid. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, like Lou said, my name is Charles Thalen. I wanted to run for this position. I'm very grateful that I got it because I really want to give my input. I really like the opportunity to give my input on this board. And I feel as though I bring a good perspective through lots of different clubs and activities, including Interact. I'm a four-sport athlete, and I really like to participate when I have the time to in our theater program.
Great. We're glad to have you and appreciate your interest. So it'll be a good year. Also, I wanted to just recognize, I think the board, you sent out, I think the board, the letter, the NEASC accreditation letter that went out. And I just wanted to thank Eric Varney and all the staff, everyone. I know they've been working very hard on this for a very long time. And to get this really wonderful letter that talks about how great Morse is and all the things that we're working on and still working on, and just really appreciate all of that. So just wanted to remark on that. I'm sure Patrick will say more of it during his good news, but I just wanted to acknowledge that up front. So we'll get right to it. Can we approve minutes for our September meeting?
I move to approve as written.
Any other second?
Second.
Okay. Were there any other questions about it? No. Okay. All in favor? All right. That passes. There are no adjustments to the agenda today. I think what I guess I should explain how we're going to do this, all right? We're going to do the public session, but when we get to the staff report, we're going to hear from John, and he's going to explain a bit about the program, and then we're going to pause the meeting to actually head down to the kitchen where some students are actually working on some stuff for about 10 minutes, get to check out some of that, and then we'll come back and resume the meeting. So that's how that's going to work. And public session, I don't see anyone else from the public here, unless someone wants to wear a different hat and speak. No? Okay. So we are going to get right to the staff report, and I'm going to hand it over to you for introductions.
So I'd like to thank John for being here tonight, and I don't want to steal his thunder, so to speak, but I think it was 3 years ago that the board supported this new course here at the high school, and it has really taken off, and so we thought it would be good, and we'll bring back some other courses and the programming that we've done later this year, but we thought this was a good one to start with and kind of make it a little more enjoyable for you to listen to John at the beginning and then go down and see some students that are doing some hands-on work. So I'll stop there and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. John Wilson, been working in the district for, I think it's my 8th year now. About 3.5 years ago, they approached me. The science department about new electives. I'm like, well, I've got one I've been thinking about. I didn't know if anybody would actually pull the trigger on it, but so yeah, I came up with science of cooking. The pilot year was one section, outfitted the classroom with convection ovens, butane cooktops, just kind of stuff that I would use personally. And it didn't really, I had a few ideas, a couple of textbook ideas, some things from YouTube. But really, it's just my love of science and really been getting into cooking the last 10 or 15 years. So, well, year 1 was one section, year 2 was 3, and now we're up to 5 sections. So there's a lot going on. It's a busy place. It's a lot of fun. We're doing everything from biology to physics to chemistry. There's a fair amount of home ec in there too. There's a lot of hands-on skills. all ability levels, all the way up to AP students through, every single section. Everyone has equal representation in there. Everyone gets to try everything. That's the rule. You don't have to like anything that we do. You just got to try it. You can spit it right in the trash. It doesn't matter. But we're having a good time in there. Right now, we're kind of into dough fermentations. So what they're actually working on in the classroom right now is something we've done. We're doing pretzels. In the coming weeks, I have a pizza oven I'm going to bring over. They're going to do long fermentations to understand the development of flavor through, breaking down of starches into sugars. And so they're kind of measuring out, and everything is done on digital scale. So any recipe we get, an American recipe especially, that's in cups and teaspoons, no, it's all metric. We go full science on it because it's universal. It's something that they can translate over. And then when they go to do their lab reports, I'm like, guys, what do you think a recipe you see online is? That is a lab report, materials, equipment, all this stuff. So it's coming naturally to them. They're starting to learn these things, making observations. And from here, we'll learn how to make cheese. They're going to do enzymatic reactions. We've done mozzarella in the past. My far out goal is, now that we have a greenhouse, is why can't we grow tomatoes? And you guys can do pizza start to finish, So, kind of that pipe dream, but maybe, who knows? I'm doing the class. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially when it's not an actual kitchen. I've, made it myself. There's a few struggles with it, but, I have a lot of support. So if I need something or something needs to be fixed, I get it done. And so far, the feedback's been great from the kids. And I'm really excited to have them show you what, not me. I can talk all day about this, but having them do it. So what you're going to see down there is they're going to essentially be doing different sections. Somebody's going to be mixing up the dough and doing the kneading and kind of talking through the process. Somebody's going to be doing the alkali boil so you get the color. Somebody's, and just doing the baking and asking questions. I mean, I didn't sit there and prod them like, you need to know all these things for when they get here. No, it's, they're going to show you their own ability, and these students that showed up are really into it. So I'm really happy to have the opportunity to show it off to you guys.
So before we go down there, I don't need John to come back here. I'd want him to go home. But before you leave here, I do want to thank you because, John, like you said, has taught science for us for a while. And but this has taken off, and it's taken off to a point where, he's making trips to Walmart or to Hannaford or to Shaw's. And, there's a lot that goes into this. And we certainly appreciate, your efforts to make this possible, and, passion that you have for this to make it, realistic and a reality for our kids. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
So you ready for us to go down?
Let me run down for 5
Okay.
minutes, see where they're at, and I'll be back.
All right.
While we're waiting, we go to the
Student board report. Aurora?
Yep. So to start, I want to do a shout out to our drama program. They performed their 10-minute plays on Thursday and Friday. Next, I want to move on to Unified. They had 3 teachers from Fort Kent visit to see about expanding their own Unified programs, which I think is amazing that our school is an example for that. The yearbook is doing the Gelato Fiasco fundraiser tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. So if you guys want to go out there and support our yearbook program, that would be amazing. Moving on to sports, cross country went to the KVAC champs for both boys and girls. Boys golf won KVACs, and senior Tuck Walker placed 5th at states. And boys soccer won KVACs for the 2nd time in school history. So shout out to all of them. They all did great. And finally, in the Bath Tech realm, the graphic design program has just started creating a new promotional video for Bath Tech.
A lot going on. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Do you want to start your report?
Yeah, I can. So as Lou talked about, I guess I'd give another shout out to Eric and his team. Katie spent a fair amount of time on the accreditation as well, and just the entire staff. I mean, it's a very positive reflection on our practice here, but it's a lot of work, as a lot of you know, writing up these reports, meeting with a team. But that letter, in my time in education, I haven't seen an accreditation letter as positive as that one was. So kudos to them. Aurora stole some of my thunder here, but I'm going to go through it anyway because I have a little more information here. But Morris Golf Team finished 10-1, won the KVACs, and then they went and became state runner-up for Class B, which is impressive when you're playing golf in a very blustery day. They performed well. Boys and girls cross country claimed the Class B KVAC championship, and Coach Brent Lukes was recognized as Coach of the Year. Chuck Reese was recognized as Coach of the Year in KVAC boys soccer Class B, and the boys again KVAC champs, and they play Wednesday at 6:30 against Yarmouth. No, not Yarmouth, York. And then the girls are going in fourth, and they play tomorrow night against Yarmouth at 6:30. So if any of you want to go watch some good soccer. November 4th is Internet Safety Night. That's something that we've partnered with Saginaw Sheriff's Department. It's November 4th, 6 to 7 here at Montgomery Theater. And Aurora mentioned this, but life skills students, unified students, had a chance to also present at the state special ed directors conference and did a great job. And they had a volleyball contest today, and they also had Fort Kent come in and talk to them about their programming, which is impressive. They ready for us? Okay. All right, let's go. All right.
Was it? Yeah, because I just wondered when you're doing that.
It was fun.
That was really cool. They all seem pretty enthusiastic. Yep. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
So I hope that gave you a flavor for what that class offers. But it's somebody mentioned it to me. It's it's a wide range of students, but you could see the passion for some of those students down there, why they're taking it. It's just it's a great class, and so I thank John and the students for doing that this evening. Some other items I just wanted to share with you that administrative team discussed it, and I also met with the association about the end of the year, which I know is a long ways off. But we looked at our school calendar, and June 18th is a Wednesday, and that would be our last student day, no matter what. And so that allows us to have 4 traditional snow days, and then if we happen to go beyond that by, say, a day, for example, then it would be a remote day. Because then, because you have Juneteenth on a Thursday and then a Friday. So we're trying to stay away from that if we can. So hopefully we'll use 4 or less snow days, and those would be traditional snow days. So I don't know if you have any questions, but probably in the next week, we'll be sending a memo out to staff and to families, just letting them know of that plan.
So wait, so the 18th that's if we use 4.
If we use all 4, it'd be
It
the
would be the
18th.
18th, otherwise it would be earlier.
Yeah, it'd be
Okay.
earlier. I think the 12th or the 13th would be our last day if we didn't use any
Right.
snow days.
Okay.
Couple grant things. I think we've mentioned this before, but Midcoast Parkview Health and Lincoln Health have a grant, an endowment fund to support mental health, basically. And between Woolwich and Bath Middle School and Morse High School, we've been approved for approximately $93,000 worth of grant money to be used for free admission to events, to various clubs, activities, outdoor areas, SEL, social emotional learning materials, and transportation. So those are kind of the major ones. If anybody wants a complete breakdown, I can give that to you at a later time. But and I'd like to just thank Abigail Abbott is the person we use, but we also would like to thank, we have Chris Bowie, who's the president of Midcoast Hospital, and also Cindy Wade, who's the president of Lincoln Health. I'd like to thank them as well. John?
Thank you guys so much for coming down. It's so thrilled about it.
No, thank you.
Thank you. That was phenomenal.
It's really awesome to have people come in, and I really mean that. If you're ever out walking around on Thursday or Friday during school, come in. The doors are always open.
When are you making pizza?
Next
Next Thursday?
Next Thursday and
Uh,
Friday.
okay.
As long as it doesn't rain.
All right. Thanks, John. And then the last grant, not the last of the year, but the last thing tonight, just to mention to you is I just gave you a handout. It says MYC on it, but it is a potential for a EPA community change grant that's specifically for Bath, and Jamie can explain why it's just Bath if somebody has that question. However, MYC is the lead on this, and we are just a partner in this as well as Kelt is. But this would give you us the opportunity as a school district, if you turn the page to the second page, it really fits well with our climate action committee work that we're starting up. And so it could be anything from, planting trees to converting our vans and some of our vehicles from gas to electric to energy efficient heat, waste reduction, all of the things that you can see on the back, indoor air quality for our facilities in Bath. And so I just wanted you to be aware that this is due November 21st. And so we're going to be part of this grant. Would be very exciting if we get it, but it is a very competitive grant. Jamie, I don't know if you want to add anything to it or not, but.
Sure. So we started looking at this grant with my nonprofit hat on with Midcoast Youth Center to help us achieve some of our goals there with making some improvements and expansions of our facility over on 4 Old Brunswick Road. And then the more I was reading through the notice of funding, I couldn't help but think about all of the things that we've been talking about for our RSU1, including the climate resolution that we signed or voted to support, and how it could support that work and some of the facilities needs that I know exist. And this is a very specific grant designed for very specific populations. Not even the entire city of Bath is designated as a disadvantaged population. However, the neighborhood of Midcoast Youth Center, Bath Middle School, even Morse High School, all along this corridor is what they classify as a disadvantaged community due to the high rates of poverty that are found in Bath. And so I approached Patrick and said, hey, this is going to be very competitive, but at the same time, it's also unprecedented funding, and it's really designed to make a strong positive impact in a localized area. And yeah, we're working on it. And
Any questions? Go ahead.
What's the timeline? I see the due in November, but when Would you
early
have any
winter
idea?
2025.
is when they would announce those who got it?
So does the disadvantaged community, is that a residential? Is that do you have to prove residents in that community?
The EPA has a grant that a map that they've published.
Right.
And so you have to go onto their map
Yeah.
using one of their tools and actually outline where it is that you would be doing the project work.
So it doesn't matter who is serviced by it. The people who are serviced by it, the outcome doesn't have to be to people who actually live there. They just have to be, where is the money going to be spent within that district as physically. So as long it could serve people from all other districts, as long as it's physically located within that district. Interesting.
Do you anticipate how long?
Has to be spent in 3 years. So again, unprecedented. There was $2 billion that is set aside specifically for this grant opportunity. And we do have some people who are helping us who have experience with this particular grant opportunity. And the more I write about it, the more excited I get. And I would fund us. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Do you have other? You're all set. So Deb.
Well, I'll start out with the grant. The ARP grant is pretty much done, and that was the $4 million grant. On this report, it shows that there's a balance of 61,000, but since this was sent out, I actually invoiced another 30,000. So we're under 1%. So we did very well spending over $4 million on that. So thank you, Katie.
Great job, everybody.
She's good at spending money. All right, so tonight we're looking at September, and we've spent about $5.5 million, which is 12%, and this is reflective of the normal activity through September. And so we have all the salaries are in here now as far as everybody who's actually been hired. There's a few ed tech positions that haven't been filled yet, but so this reflects all salaries, all bargaining groups and that. So that's the activity, and it will begin rolling along, and we'll have, everything as far as our budget versus actual for hiring has come in about 250,000 to the good, which is a wonderful thing because we also have some other expenses that weren't budgeted, namely paid family medical leave, which we have to start in January. And so that isn't in this year's budget, but so that will help with that. Also with any retirees that happen to come up this year, that will also help with that. So it's good to be on the positive side at this point. As far as revenue, we've brought in 9.6 million. And once again, that's in line with what we normally bring in by this point of time. Patrick mentioned the Lincoln Health grants. There's 4 of them. We also have 2 additional Title I grants this year, school improvement grants. So we're off to a good start.
Great.
Questions?
Questions? Yeah, go ahead.
No, because they're all in separate funds. We have a whole list. There's a list of different grants, and I can certainly share that with you in the future.
report on a way.
Yeah.
We're working really hard to access all kinds of resources.
Right.
Besides just our budget. So
Yeah.
it's
Okay. All right.
Thank you. All right. We're at 10.0, new business. Katie, the cell phone policy
Yes.
update.
So I have a few data updates on cell phones and our school-based health center. And then I also want to share about substitutes too, since that was in some of the board reports. And I would love to hear from both of you at the end of what I say about cell phones. So the board had asked when this was passed last year that I report back with qualitative and quantitative data on how it's going. And so I've been collecting that from department chairs, from teachers. Things have been sent sort of back and forth. So because it's been such a short amount of time, I don't have a lot of numbers. I have a lot of impressions of how things are going. So I'll just read down through what staff wanted me to share. They feel in general that bathroom trips are shorter and quieter because people aren't able to text of when to meet up and where. The cafeteria is louder, but in a good way. Students are talking to each other more before the bell rings rather than looking at their phones. They're either starting their work right away or actually, looking at relationships, I guess, in a different way is what the teacher said. Directions need to be given fewer times. Teacher energy is spent more on learning, and the non-learning redirection feels decreased. And, this is even to the point where teachers have reported feeling like they have more energy because they're spending less of their day on behavioral things. The school-based health center visits are up, and I'll talk about that and why. Students seem to be reading more. More library books and games have been taken out than ever before. There's Uno at lunch, if anyone of you want to come and play. That definitely wasn't happening before. Many report more work being completed in class. In terms of the sort of leaders dealing with behavior incidences, there's been less vaping reported and dealt with, probably because of the bathrooms, and less investigations having to do with bullying, anything sexual related to student phones. That has really brought down those behaviors. Let's see. This, I'd be curious if you agree with. Teachers say that kids are not really bringing up wanting phones anymore, and it seems like there's been an adjustment. And I think I'll stop there. So before I share the school-based health center stuff, how have you guys done so far? What's your impression?
I definitely agree with the students aren't really complaining very much at all about not having their phone. Most often it will be like a remark maybe once a week that I'll pick up that someone would want to take a picture of something, but that would be it.
Yeah.
And overall, definitely I've heard from a lot of people, and I agree myself that it makes you a lot more productive in study halls and time off when you get the opportunity to do homework.
Yeah, I would definitely say more homework being done like in school. I would definitely say people have adjusted. Like I know one of my friends plays Sudoku in class now instead of being on her phone. Yeah, in general, I'd say that's the gist I've gotten.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Pictures are definitely, I would say, the most annoying thing.
Yeah.
The pictures.
Pictures.
Like taking pictures.
Okay, so in terms of the school-based health center and how this is related, the school-based health center and nurse's office has seen more visits than ever before in 1 month. And when talking to Katrina specifically about that here, she said last year we had 331 visits to the health center in 1 month. This year it was 449. So, and Normally, what would often happen is students would text a parent and say, I don't feel good, and go right down to the office and get picked up because that's just the routine they were used to. Now they can't do that. So two good things. It's helping out our attendance. So students who really need to be sent home who are sick are the ones who are going home. And two, if students really are sick, which they often are, they're actually getting seen by either our nurse practitioner or a nurse, and getting the treatment they need or getting referred to go to a doctor. And so it kind of has two upsides to it so far. It has also increased the number of school-based health center enrollments. So we've had 27 just here, new enrollments. In terms of the nurse practitioner and the medical assistant. So this is in addition to the 450 visits that Katrina's been doing. They've also seen 50, they've had 50 appointments so far in 1 month in the few days that they're open. And our social worker through the school-based health center already has 18 people on her caseload and has had at least 35 appointments. So I think, as I've been talking to multiple districts who keep reaching out to find out how things are going, one thing that I'll share often with them is it's having effects in a positive way that we never even intended, which is really nice. Yeah. So any questions about that before I move on to subs?
So one of the things we were afraid of is that the number of phone calls to our front offices were going to go through this roof. Have we heard that happen?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. It hasn't happened at all.
And was any of your surveying was with teachers and students, but was with parents? And we got any kind of feedback?
I haven't sent out a formal survey yet, just because not a lot of time has gone. I was thinking maybe halfway through the year, we'd resurvey all the different groups who we asked last year about this, see how it's going.
I ask every parent,
Yeah.
and I've not received one negative comment at all. Many positive comments. So that's, again, not a specific survey, but no numbers behind that. So that was, and the increase in the healthcare center, was that outside of Morse or just at Morse students? Was that?
Though I couldn't say for sure it's visits. I know we see students from other buildings. So she didn't say this many from Morse, this many from who got driven over from BMS or whatnot. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
But the health center is open to anybody.
Right. I'm just kind of curious how effective we are in having that as a resource for people, in Phippsburg and Woolwich and when travel is an issue. Okay, but thank you.
So Katie, is it, because it seems like it's really streamlined well when you call Morse, that it goes straight to attendance or you can email.
Mhm.
So all that everybody's saying is working out pretty well, right?
Yeah,
In terms of
I would say with
communicating.
that, we sort of over prepared and we're really worried. And then I'm assuming, if you're used to updating your child on multiple things throughout the day, and then you realize you have to tell another grown-up these things before it gets to your child, that you probably reassess how important it is to
Read it
disrupt their
out,
school
yeah.
day. I mean, that's
Yep,
my inference.
okay, great. Any other question? Yeah, go ahead, Tricia.
I have a question for Aurora and Charles. Do you find after school that you're really jonesing for your phone or other kids are, or do you find like more at night it's about the same as it was last year? Is it different than it was last year?
I'd say at night, like going to bed, it's pretty much exactly the same. I don't think that's changed at all. And I would say pretty similar for right after school. I remember it got on my nerves the first day of school. I got out of school. I unlocked my yonder pouch for the first time, and I was sitting down and talking to my friend, and a teacher walked by and all snide was like, "Oh, you're not on your phone even though you have it now." And I was like, I do prefer face-to-face interaction always, even when I do have my phone. So in that way, I don't know whether the yonder pouches has made it better or worse, but I would say after school it isn't. Everyone's just immediately on their phones.
I definitely have to agree with that. One thing that I'd like to add is in the beginning of the year, it was pretty rough with everyone going all to one place to unlock their phones. And that was a complaint that I heard from a lot of my fellow students. But throughout the year, a lot of students, instead of locking up their phone in the under pouch, will leave it at home or leave it in their car, which has definitely helped a lot. But we've definitely figured out that traffic flow. And for students that I've talked to about it, no one really has a compulsion for their phone at the end of the day, really, like a lot of people were expecting, which I thought was interesting, but it didn't really surprise me too much.
Any other comments, questions? Yeah, go ahead, Kurt.
Just for the three of you, what about the things we heard over the summer, like people were going to have a second phone and hide it without outing anybody? Can you tell us if you've seen that after the,
Yeah, no, that is,
Yes.
that actually really does happen often, I would say. I would say the biggest problem with the under pouches is the fact that a lot of the times they just don't work. In the sense like, well, no, I mean like in the sense that like, because so many people leave their phones in their car, if you walk in and don't have your under pouch out, you can just leave your phone in your bag and you're not really going to get caught. But on that same note, just because they have their phone doesn't mean they're on it, because the phone policy is so much stricter now. So people will have their phones, but they're still not going to be on them.
So would you say the culture is changing in the sense that in the same way, well, you're not allowed to vape, but kids will try to get away with it, or they'll try to get away with smoking or something like that here and there. Is it more along those lines that you feel the culture is shifting so that they're not, as compelled to do it, even if some have it? It's just most kids, I assume, are not feeling like, oh, I gotta be on my phone. Right, there you go. Okay, interesting. Thanks for sharing. Matt, did you have something?
I was just
Yeah.
gonna add my 2 cents because I have 2 kids at the high school. And before school started, my daughter thought it was the stupidest thing ever. She's probably gonna be really mad that I say that, but and I haven't heard any complaints from my own kids. And so that I think is, I don't know, it's like it's just gotten used to it. And I think everything that people were fearing that we were gonna feel, and now I'm like, and it actually makes me feel really happy knowing that my kids aren't on their phones. So, and I got a phone call from my son a few weeks ago. I was like, oh gosh, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he's like, there's a golf team dinner tonight. Can I go? I was like, so anyway, yeah, but he actually went to the office and used the phone, because I was like, oh, now I really have to answer when Morse is calling. I can't let it go to voicemail.
He's fine with it. I mean, he was ambivalent at first, but no, he was like, good move. It works. He doesn't have an issue with it. It's he can access his phone. But he said the same thing you did, Charlie, which was at first said, you got to do something. There's lines, the first week or so. And I think that got worked out, but it was more logistics than it was about the phone. And that's the other thing, because I'll tell him, I'm like, don't you have homework? I know you're getting homework. He's like, oh, I did it all. What do you mean you did it all? Oh yeah, because I had study hall and I had this. And so it's much easier just to get a lot of it done, in school. So it's like, all right, well, that's a plus. So yeah, no, he's fine with it. So far anyway. Anything else on that before she moves on to, yeah, okay.
I have gotten a few emails from students that either people have passed on to me or have been sent directly to me saying that they secretly, I didn't want to print them out for you because I didn't want anyone to figure out who it was, but they secretly like it. They've even read a book. They don't want to admit it, but they're now talking to more people they normally wouldn't. And so I think it's making everybody be a little more reflective about our old behaviors, which is great. Okay, subs. So I just wanted to let you know that, because it did come up in some of the school reports, we have currently 105 subs on our current roster. 22 of these are newly hired. We have 5 more in the application process. Only 15 of our subs from last year didn't return. So that actually means we have a surplus of 12 people from last year, which is great. I think part of the reason why we sometimes have a hard time even still is on really heavy days when we have a lot going on. For instance, a grade level meeting, and schools do get illnesses all at once that are really contagious. And there are assessments that need to be done that require extra people. And so there are days, no doubt, when it's tricky. However, in September, of all the schools, only 14 absences were unfilled, which is very, very good. And in October so far, it's only been 10. And so our fill rate for subs is actually 92% for September. And so while it does feel like a crunch, and it will feel like a crunch in some schools more than others, when I hire people, I don't know if they're going to end up wanting to just sub at the high school or they want to drive all the way down to Phippsburg. And that's really their choice. And so it's not always an even distribution of those 105 people, depending on what they're looking for work. So I just wanted you to be aware that while it was mentioned, we're actually probably in the best place we've ever been with substitutes.
That's great. Thanks for that. Any questions on subs or the drive to Phippsburg? No comment. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not about those topics, but it's just something I wanted to ask Katie a question about. So if there's any, Katie, I've started reading this book, the one Beth suggested, and it's phenomenal. Like, I started putting a dog ear on every page. I thought, I wish I had done that better when I was teaching or instruction. And then I was figuring I was dog earing too many pages, so it wasn't really working out. But I thought the greatest thing about this, I was thinking about teachers that have been teaching one program for a long time, is that it wasn't like you have to teach a different program or a different strategy. It was, how are you thinking about what the students' needs are and how you're addressing those. And the biggest takeaway so far was, for me, just personally, is that you could start a process, and if it wasn't working for you, you could choose a different process. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I can't remember, it's been a long time, I know, but I can't remember that explicitly being part of how we were approaching teaching mathematics before. And I'm probably a very concrete sequential learner, so I learn in a very linear way, and I don't like to do different things. But those are just one tiny takeaway where I thought, that would have really helped a lot of the different times. And they also brought international differences to how different countries solve things, which I think is a wonderful way to open up our perspective. And I've just got,
Jen, what book are you referring to?
It's called Figuring Out Fluency in Mathematics.
Oh,
and this is what Beth said that she was having teachers read. And it's part of a series that I think has fluency in a lot of different subject areas. And I just got it because I was like, whoa, I don't get that. What's fluency and why are they talking about it in this respect? And it sounds to me very everyday math and a lot of the terms it starts out in the beginning with. But it was just this thing of, a process has to be both effective and efficient. Mm-hmm. And if you get caught somewhere, it's okay. You can use a different strategy. And I went, I don't think I don't know where that was taught before and how wonderful that is to give students, that permission. And I'm a huge fan of Schoolhouse Rocks, and they mentioned something in there called the estimation station. And I was like, that is such a cool Schoolhouse Rocks. I've got to make a song about that. But it's a great book. And I just wanted, of course, Beth, chose a wonderful book. I'm not surprised, but it was, it's an interesting read. And after I finished writing all over it, I'm happy to share it with anybody.
So our math PD that the main math and science group did for 2 years was all based on all of that work and research. Yeah. And so all of our teachers have now been trained in that model of mathematics. Uh-huh. And multiple groups of teachers have been part of a book club reading that. Yeah. And then all of our special ed and interventionists actually did that as their book study last year. Oh. So it is a completely different way of thinking of teaching and thinking being really flexible, which is exactly what we'll need when robots are running the world. So
So I thought that was really great. And the other
Leave that comment hanging. That's good. All right.
And then the other thing I just wanted to ask, I was reading the board reports, and there was a comment from Phippsburg about an expeditionary learning, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. They're not considered expedition, okay. And the other thing, it was a comment at BMS, which I think I just read the Phippsburg one, and it was about, looking at reading skills. And I started wondering, like, have we ever looked at, is it hard for students to go from a non-expeditionary learning process for pre-K to 5 and then switch? Has that ever been any part of, how is that different in how they learn, how the structure of their day is, how the classroom works differently? I've never thought of that before.
We haven't researched that, but I would say, without having researched it, no.
Okay.
Because essentially what expeditionary learning is still having your English, math, science, history lessons, but they all connect.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll have a big overall project, and part of the project that's math focused will be done in math class. The part that's literacy focused will be done in your English class. And so it's teaching a lot of critical thinking and inquiry-based thinking,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not so different that a student wouldn't be able to adjust. They might not even know it is expeditionary learning unless somebody said, you're doing expeditionary learning.
Oh, okay, because connected math was expeditionary learning based, and it was very different.
No.
So maybe that's why I was
Different,
thinking of-
yeah, different use of the word.
Oh, okay, all right. And I was also thinking of the BMS, the question there about, reading, and I was wondering if there's a different kind of, how was I thinking about this? When you get to a more technical reading or technical content, is that comprehension a lot different from fifth grade to sixth grade? Or is there a point in there where those skills change for a student?
In the Common Core, essentially, students learn how to read fiction and use certain strategies, and read nonfiction
Nonfiction, yes.
and use certain strategies.
Mhm.
And it spirals. If you looked at the ELA standards, they're almost exactly the same for little guys as they are higher up. The
Okay.
rigor just gets a little bit deeper, and some of the concepts are slightly more complex. But what you're talking about is just the strategies that go with nonfiction reading. Right. Megan could probably answer this better than I can, but that's how I would answer. So I think it would be pretty clear to students.
Okay, thanks.
Great, thanks. Any other questions for Katie? Thanks for all the updates. It's really good stuff. We really appreciate it. It's good to hear all that. Okay, so we are now at 10.2 field trip requests.
Yeah, this is one that we've done before. Rebecca DeShane, it's May 16th through the 18th, so it's a Friday through Sunday. And you can see the details in the backup, and it's done through the company like we've done before. So I don't know if you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay, so can I have a motion? Jennifer? Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other, no questions about, yeah, they go to Quebec City all the time. It's a fun trip. All in favor? Okay, that passes. And now we have all these policies, which it's no action today, right? It's first. So not going to go through all of those tonight. You've had them. Some of them are updates, right, because of the cell phone, or new because of the cell phone policies. Other ones, I think, when I was looking at it, is just, the food service is all because now that we have free meals, right? It's some of that adjusting. Is that where it's coming from? I was just trying to understand where this was
Some
coming
of it's
from.
doing that, but also us is working through Section E and working with Maine School Management. So some of our policies were outdated, and they recommended new language. So Melissa Cole, our food service director, previewed these, and the policy committee kind of looked through them. But if you have any questions tonight, or you have questions within the next month, but they're pretty.
It's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
There wasn't any,
No.
Because we're now with the free meals and everything. Yeah, does anyone have questions about any of these policies for tonight? No? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to attend the policy meeting, but I was thinking about, do we monitor how much food waste? I know that we do a lot of great composting, but now that we've moved over to this new approach to feeding our cafeterias, have we started to track, or would we be able to track specifically like how much food waste we're getting? And I love the policy where it says that you can choose something. I mean, you're not just forcing kids to take food that they're not going to eat, but
Yeah, I mean, I can talk with Melissa about that, but I do know that a big emphasis when I was talking to her about that one policy, I don't know which one it is now, but I think for breakfast it's 3 out of 5, and for lunch it's 4 out of 6 that they have to take, that we have to require them to take. And she felt like that has helped with some food waste, because it's not like we have to put all components on there for them. But as far as actually measuring it, I'd have to talk with her a little bit more about trying to figure that out.
it would not waste a whole lot of time or effort, but just
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
have some kind of sense of how
Yeah.
that adds up to our waste budget, and also how we can.
Yeah.
And do we, the question I have, is, now that it's from the state, right, it's free, is that have to be renewed with another biennial budget? Or, I mean, how long is that? Does anyone know how long is that? Huh?
Do you know if that's another 2 years? The free and free breakfast and lunch that we.
Yeah, another 2 years, that's all in the budget.
Well, no, but it's
That we
all, because
opted
usually I do
for.
the biennial budget, it's 2 years, and I just didn't know if
I think we signed up for an option where it was for another 2
it
years.
was
but
another
I'll
2 years.
have to
Okay,
double check
I was
that.
just curious if that's, hopefully it's not a battle we have to find, because I naively thought a lot of states did this, but we're like one of 8 states that actually, after COVID, said, yeah, we're going to feed the kids. And, which is great, and I hope that, continues. I just didn't know if we were like, it was on a precipice of having to fight for that again, or if we have a little more time before we have to do that.
We're not enough states do it, which is the reason
No,
why.
there's only 8.
The
I
federal
thought it was
government,
like-
we lose money from the federal government because there's no impotence to actually change. We've been, we can track free because once you get one free program, you're kind of eligible across the range. It's the reduced part where you used to be able to be eligible for reduced hot lunches, but you wouldn't necessarily be economically or choose to report anything else. But I did notice there is something that we're encouraging students still to fill out a form now, even with universal feeding. So I don't know how anyone's going to want to fill that out. There's no kind of carrot and stick for that, but it'd be really great if we could get more of that done. It would be really help to kind of indicate, have we eligibility in there for additional funding that we don't see? Yeah.
Part of the news packet that we do every,
Yeah,
beginning of every year.
online. Yeah, it's in there.
In our current numbers, part of the returns are we're up 49 students over last year.
For what?
Economic disadvantage. Yeah. She's done a great job of getting schools. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's 15 more.
Okay.
Means our number is, the most.
That's good. I just wanted to be aware of it, because I know it's a big deal. All right. So no action on that one specifically. Next is personnel items.
Yeah, I just want to recognize Charlie Gableman, who's an ed tech at Bath Middle School, was at a long time at Dyke Newell as well. And then Marianne Squillis, who's food service at Bath Middle School, and thank them for the years of service, because they'll be retiring soon.
That's great. Okay, board goals. Any comment or?
Katie did provide us some wonderful data around how, oh no, that's pre-K. I was thinking about the communication, yeah. This is usually mine.
We talked about, for the social emotional piece, the grants we've gotten from Lincoln Health, because one of the main purchases in there for BMS is of the new SEL program that they'll be trying. We also spoke to you tonight about the increase in school-based health center visits that are both physical and through the social worker, social emotional. We talked about math fluency, which is a big part of our K-5 programming, and what essentially all of our interventions are structured around. And facilities, we spoke about when we talked about the $10 million grant and what it might be able to fund for our district and NYC should we get it.
That's great. Nice roundup. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been meaning to pass this along. Nurse Brandy Tainter in Phippsburg, she sat and passed the National School Nurse Certification Exam.
Oh, that's fantastic.
On her own. So, yeah, so
That's
I think she
great.
might be the only nationally certified nurse now in the district.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. All right. Next meeting will be, or we're doing that Monday. No, that's November 25th. That's Monday before Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that will be our next meeting. And if there are no other questions, move to adjourn. Second? Second. All in favor? All right. And welcome again, Charlie. And gonna come back next month? Okay. All right. Just checking. I know we're